We are approaching the end of the year and I would like to provide you with an update on Markham. If you are interested in knowing what exactly happened up until November, this will be a detailed look. Hey, welcome back to AVT Real Estate channel. I'm Antonio, the local real estate agent in the GTA. If you have been enjoying the content that I put out every week, don't forget to like the video, and if you are not already, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. Or if you would like to chat with me about anything about real estate, don't hesitate to book a call with me using the first link in the description below. Let's now explore all home types in Markham within the York region. Again, comment down below if you want me to do a similar analysis like this one in the area you want, and I can do that in the future. To be clear, all home types include freehold detached, semi-detached homes, freehold townhouses, and condos. I will also break down all the asset classes later in the video. In addition, I also included the median prices in case you are curious, because I find median prices are a better representation than average prices, since a high price unit that was sold or a very low price unit that was sold could easily skew the prices. This is included so that you can explore on your own, but I will stick to average prices since most people like to use this as a comparison. In January, we started with an average price of $1,265,937 with fairly low sales, which usually happen during the winter. In February, it was a slight dip to $1,251,266 with almost no change. But do remember that the Bank of Canada decided to hold the interest rate, and we did see a flux of sales at 362. In March, the average price jumped up due to a rate pause at $1,319,552 and held steady with almost the same sales at 311. As you suspect, the price kept rising and the average price peaked during June at $1,437,119, but the highest sales happened during May at 437. And the reason it started to slow down is due to the interest hike during June and July. Obviously, in July, we saw the dip and went from $1,437,119 to $1,368,778. That is a significant drop of $68,341 in just 1 month. Sales went from 349 to 241, and that is a 108 less, which is quite high as well. In August, the average prices in Markham kept plummeting and reached the new bottom at $1,282,019, which clearly matched the bottom from the beginning of the year. Again, this is only for the Markham region, and it can be different from other pockets of the area. After a slight improvement from the inflation number reported during September, the Bank of Canada decided to hold the interest rate 2 consecutive times in September and October. Although most part of the GTA didn't improve much, by this move, sales kept plummeting while new and active listings increased. As you can see, September in Markham is at 1,326,255, which barely moved, but sales kept dropping to 196. Similarly, October improved marginally with no movement at 1,333,176. The Toronto Real Estate Board has yet to release November statistics, but I extracted the number until November 25th. So there is still close to a week left in November, which is close to the end of the month. November average prices remain pretty flat at $1,323,720, and sales continue to drop to 166. If we compare the peak average price from June at $1,437,119 to current in November at $1,323,720, the drop was roughly about $113,399, and that is a 7.9% drop from the peak. The 7.9% decline in the Markham average price wasn't all that drastic. In my opinion, I see worse in other part of the GTA. Obviously, we are not in December yet, but I don't think it is going to be better, especially during the holiday season. Now, let's take a look at the past 5 years to take a deeper look at how the stats flare out. Since the official number for November is not out yet, let's use the October numbers through the past 5 years. At a glance, average prices have increased from 2019 at $955,092 to 2023 at $1,333,176. Although there were ups and downs, average prices still went up significantly significantly thanks to crazy appreciation during the pandemic. Prior to 2019, it was a somewhat normal year before the pandemic and was going steadily at plus 3.12%. As you can see, during the pandemic, we had a big jump of plus 12.46%, and the craziest year in 2021 was a historic increase of plus 29.8%. We all know that in 2022, we had the historic rate hike for 10 consecutive months, and as a result, average prices plummeted 8.01%. Surprisingly, this year, Markham managed to have a slight increase of plus 3.95%. Overall, from 2019 to 2023, Markham average prices grew by 39.59%. If you rounded out the 5 years, each would be 7.91%. Isn't that crazy? From all these ups and downs, the average increase was pretty steady at about 8% each year, which fit right on the average that we've always been talking about each year. Now let's go back to take a look at the sales and compare that to the previous years so that you know how bad the market is so far. If you compare the current sales at 239 and last year in 2022 at 245, you might think it wasn't bad. But don't forget, the last year was also horrible since it was part of the rate hike. It dates back to 2021 when the average prices were the highest and the sales were 480. We are currently doing almost half of it. Even if you compare that to 2020 at 438 and 2019, which was somewhat of a normal year, it is still significantly lower. We presently have one of the largest number of new listings at 574, along with the lowest sales 239, which may easily indicate that this is a buyer's market. Even though there were only 245 sales in 2022, there were 170 fewer new listings at 404 than there were this year. It is therefore worse this year because we simply have more new listings and with a small amount of sales. The story of the new listing also tells you the story of today's market versus the hottest market in Markham. Sales to new listing are horrendous for the sellers. Only 239 of the 574 new listings were sold. That is a 41.64% sales to new listing ratio, which signifies a strong buyer's market. For those that are not familiar with this percentage, any less than 50% usually means a buyer's market. If it's close to 50%, it is a balanced market. And if it is larger than 50%, it is usually a seller's market. Last year in 2022 was a little better at 60.64%, which is still sitting on the seller's market. In 2021, when the inventory was low and the new listings were 551 and sales were much higher at 480, that is a whopping 86.8%. No wonder the prices were the highest out of the 5 years comparison. In 2020, the sales to new listing ratio was 58.4%, which was still sitting at the seller's market. And lastly, in 2019, it was 51.68%. I also included the active listing for the past 5 years for your reference if you want to compare that as well. Now let's move on to the freehold detached home prices in Markham. This table shows you how the average prices have changed over the course of the year, if you've been wondering. In January, the average price started at 1,656,706 and had the lowest sales of 67. We started to see prices increasing when the Bank of Canada held the interest rate. The peak was in May at 1,904,360, with the highest sales transaction at 183. Then of course, the interest rate hiked again in June and July, and the average prices came down again. However, prices were hovering in the 1.7 million range throughout July until October. Sales transactions were also trending down since then. It went as low as 87 sales in August and September, but rebounded a little during the rate pause again in September and October. In October, there were 110 sales, but so far, almost at the end of November, we are trending down to 77 sales with an average price of 1,793,210. If we compare the prices from the peak in May at 1,904,360 to November 25th, it was down 111,150, a negative 5.8% down. Now let's take a look at the semi-detached homes in Markham. In January, the average price started at 1,100,000 154,778 with only 9 sales. As expected, since February in the Bank of Canada held the rate and average prices started to trend up and reach their peak in May at 1,414,242 with the highest sales count of 28. It is obvious that semi-detached homes are not a popular option and there are fewer semi-detached homes in Markham. Similarly, the interest hike started again in June and July and the average prices also started to trend down during September at 1,245,600 with the lowest sales count of 8. So far, the unofficial number up to November 25th is at 1,281,236 and the sales at 8 as well. From the peak in May at 1,414,242 to November 25th of 1,281,236, it is down 133,006, a negative 9.4% down. Move on to the freehold townhouses in Markham in January. The average prices started at 1,221,056 with only 18 sales. Same story short, after the rate pause, it slowly increased to 1,370,567 during June with 30 sales. The average price trended down and reached the bottom in September at 1,241,034 with 28 sales after the interest hike. It is currently sitting at 1,196,114 as of the recording of the video with 24 sales. From the peak in June at 1,370,567 to November 25th at 1,196,114, it is down 174,453, a negative 12.73% down. Now onto the condo townhouses in Markham. Don't confuse condo townhouses with freehold townhouses, in which the main difference is the condo townhouses usually carry a maintenance fee associated with the unit, similar to condo apartments. In January, the average price started at 870,218 with 15 sales. After the Bank of Canada held the interest rate, the average prices reached their peak in May at 1,050,714 with the highest sale at 34. It started to trend down after the interest rate hike again in June and July and went as low as 886,808 in October with one of the lowest sales count at 13. As of November 25th, the average price is currently at 794,623, which is the lowest so far and also matched the lowest count of sale at 13. Compared to the peak at 1,050,714, the difference was 256,091, a whopping negative 24.37% down. The condo townhouses are the asset class in Markham that has dropped the most so far. Now to the last asset class in Markham, condo apartments. The average price in January started at 745,286 with 31 sales. After the rate pause, the average price reached its peak in July at 792,274 with 54 sales. Although the highest sales count happened in May at 108, the average price trended down after the rate hike in June and July to 678,063 on November 25th with the lowest sales count of 30 at the time of recording. The difference from the peak price of 792,274 in July was 114,211, a negative 14.42% down, which is the second lowest percentage out of all the asset classes. I hope you can find some valuable data in this video about properties in Markham overall. If you want me to make an analysis for other areas in the GTA, make sure you leave your comment down below. Don't forget to like the video and consider subscribing to the channel if you'd like to support me making videos such as this. I hope you have a wonderful day and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.